applies them for lubricants. There's nothing good about this whole thing, so I hope you protect your citizens here. That's all I have to say, thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Anybody else? Yes. Yep.
My name is Charlie Curtis, Cato Township. So there's been some things that have been really bothering me about this whole wind turbine siting in our townships and counties. And I know most of you don't care what bothers me, but I'm going to tell you anyway. It really bothers me that many township officials can't see the obvious, that industrial wind machines have no business in rural townships at all. It really bothers me that that the townships have been turned upside down for the past 2 to 3 years with this nonsense, and many officials don't even seem to care. It really bothers me that many township boards do not even know what the majority of citizens in their jurisdictions think. It really bothers me that so many township officials have been willing to entertain serious conflicts of interest. It really bothers me that very few on township boards have really taken the time to study the effects of wind turbines on surrounding communities, like Fred says, unlike the people in this audience that understand wind energy far better than most township officials. It really bothers me, and nothing against Joe Sweet here, but it really bothers me the manner in which Joe was elevated to the Planning Commission. It was a railroad operation that does not instill confidence in the board's intentions. It really bothers me that very few officials understand how inefficient and destabilizing wind turbines are and just how ungreen they are. These turbines are a joke and only embraced because of the subsidies. It really bothers me that unethical companies like Apex think they can throw their money around and get their way. They do not want our way, they want their way. They are experts at manipulation and bribery, and it bothers me that townships would even consider issuing permits to them. It really bothers me that there seems to be little understanding what the state of townships will be in 15 years when turbines will be decommissioned and there is nowhere near the money to rid ourselves from these obsolete hulks and their subterranean support structures. It's a good bet that government will have to step in and take it all. It really bothers me that no one is doing an honest cost-benefit analysis showing the true costs of turbines versus the supposed benefits they bring. The devaluation of real estate, the lack of future growth alone negates most of the money promises turbines bring. When the Army Corps of Engineers does a project, there is always a cost-benefit analysis done by a qualified entity. Apex Energy telling us how great wind turbines are does not cut it. It really bothers me that a respectful reverence for the God-given beauty and natural resources of our townships is being sacrificed on the altar of all sorts of motivations that are not compatible with what is ultimately the best for our communities. My question is, do any of these things bother you?
Anybody else? Okay. I'll close public comments. One more thing. We did receive a letter, and I think I forwarded it to you all out there too, from a lady named Luann Coaster, Koester. And this was sent to our township clerk, Todd Lincoln, and Todd forwarded it to me and I forwarded it to the planning commission. It just says, hello, I'll read through this real quick. Hello, I support wind energy to help Montcalm County schools, roads, and jobs. As Montcalm County resident of most of my 60-plus years, I support wind because wind energy supports Michigan schools, Michigan businesses, roads, and provides a cleaner source of energy for all of us. We need energy, we need clean energy. Michigan is behind the nation when it comes to utilizing wind as an energy resource. For more than a decade, communities out of West have been taking advantage of this resource and helping to provide energy resource for their communities. And then there's the jobs that come into the community as well as a direct result. I will demonstrate to corporate business community that we are forward thinking and we will move into the future utilizing this resource. Since 2012, the wind farm in Gratiot County has paid over $30 million in educational related property taxes. That money can be used to support education, vocational programs through the intermediate school districts, building improvement funds by local bond millage, technology investments through voter approved sinking funds. Alone, in addition to generating clean local power in Gratiot County wind project, generated an estimated or additional $4.7 million in state and local education dollars. I stood, you timed me, right? 3 minutes?
Time.
I stood near the wind turbine in Gratiot County, where I heard a little noise, saw birds, and wildlife continue to thrive, farmers continue to grow their food around them. I find this artistic and most memorizing to watch. Look beyond Gratiot County, and the story is the same. Beale City School District's Isabella County saw the first tax payment from the wind project this year. The payment from the project totaled over $500,000 and would even be more, over $1 million next year. Total education funding for the first tax payment of the Isabella wind project totaled over $1.7 million. What has this new revenue meant for Michigan school districts? Some have used the funds to hire special education staff, reading specialists, mental health professionals. Others have invested in technology like fiber internet and new computers. Others have funded transportation services. Other school communities are touting the benefits of the wind farm in their communities. I want this for all as well. Tens of millions of dollars to be generated to the education of Macomb County wind for over the next 30 years. According to the Economic Impact Study and the Macomb Economic Alliance and the Upjohn Institute, imagine what a huge investment could do for Macomb County schools. Gratiot County RESD Superintendent Jan Armersterberger said it best when he wrote, "In rural communities such as ours, there are fewer opportunities to realize additional financial resources. Without the wind revenue, we would be reducing and not improving our level of services to our local school districts." I want to say how badly I feel for all the township boards that have been driven out of their positions and dealt with situations and people who seek influence by bullying and indecent. Largely those people who are being influenced by sources not inside our community at all. It's simply not fair for all of us who have lived and built our communities. Most of the township board officials throughout this area have been actively serving our communities for decades. You should be thanked wholeheartedly for their services and not persecuted. I truly hope we don't miss this opportunity to improve education infrastructure and bring jobs in Macomb County for generations to come. It's time to start powering better life in Macomb County and embracing wind energy in our community. So I just want to read it. I mean, obviously she's not here, and I just felt obligated that she made a comment, and I know this was given to me from the Cato Township Board. So with that, I'll close public comments. Next on our agenda then is Dave Kelsey.
Okay, I see here January, February, March. I rushed out the door to get here in time, and I didn't bring that information. Next month I will, but we're doing pretty good. Right now on my desk, there's 3 permits for Cato Township, so it's doing, I'd say average, good, which is good. I feel, so.
Okay.
Sorry.
You can bring those next month.
Yeah, I'll bring them next time for sure.
And then are we gonna post this form on the website, did you say, for people from now on, this zoning amendment form?
If we move on that, in the end, yes.
Oh.
Yep. There are some things out there on there now, but not this. And yeah, we need to make that available for them.
Yeah, I mean, for anybody who
Yep.
wants to use it.
Yep, the public, absolutely. Yep. So they don't have to seek, they can pull and print it. Yep. Any other questions for Dave? From the Cato Township Board, Dave, any updates?
Yeah, the wind and solar moratorium, public post date was March 15th. 22. And the master plan, in our last meeting, Todd did not have any name or amount, but he did text me today and said that he talked to Mark Edelson of Lands Plan, that's who we talked to before. Oh, that was a year ago or two, in 2019, I think is when it was.
I thought it was David B.
No, he talked to us.
Oh, you talked to
Yeah,
He
he
talked to
come
the
talk
commission.
to us, but,
okay.
but he said that he is not available, but expect between $12,000 and $30,000 is what it's gonna cost to do the master plan, is what.
Mark said?
So he said to look elsewhere, so I don't know if Leslie has some ideas or.
Yeah, I can make a list of recommendations. I know of a few on the east side of the state that I really like, but again, they're a little bit further away, but I can give you guys some recommendations. And the board can approve to do an RFP or something on that as well, to get bids for the work, so that it's, you know, you're evaluating and being able to assess costs. So that might be an option as well.
Have you heard of David B. from West?
I have not, and I
Side
actually asked a couple of my colleagues about that, cause I wrote the name down from our last meeting, and I've never heard of them, so, not to say that's a bad thing, but I've never worked with
Was
them.
he the one who did our last master plan?
That was before me.
And before you.
It doesn't say on the title page either.
Okay.
It says the members that were present.
He either did Maple Valley years ago or Douglas, I don't remember which one, but I remember his name, I think it was Maple Valley.
Is he the one that came to our meeting?
I just had
David B.
minutes.
did.
Yeah, yeah, cause I say, that's what I remember him telling us, was Maple Valley, he was helping them work with it, so that's his big right. And then, board of review, Larry asked me that we have to decide between us board members who we want to replace.
We should
So as
clarify, we keep saying board of review, and
Or
that's
no.
taxes.
Yes, the
Zoning
zoning
board of appeals.
yes, big, zoning board of appeals.
And Leslie, it's my understanding that one member of the planning commission is supposed to be on the
Yep.
zoning board.
Yep.
So being that Kim was on that before, I think what Dave's asking us to do is, we need a recommendation and a vote on somebody from this commission to be on that. Am I hearing you
Yes,
correctly?
there. And then I'll take it back.
Yeah, they'll make the official appointment, but if somebody volunteers from this, you guys don't have to take any official action on that, but,
So anybody interested in voting on the, zoning board of appeals?
I'll volunteer.
So we have Randy, anybody else?
I'd be lying to say I have any experience with any of that.
how big is
Me
your
too.
ZBA, just curious?
Is it 500?
Three.
Okay, so I guess, you have your names. Thank you, Brandon. Anything else?
Real quick, I just wanna ask Leslie, the posting on the moratorium was outside the 15 days, I think. It wasn't anybody on this commission's fault. The clerk had it in plenty of time.
After it was adopted, or, okay.
Is that a problem?
It needs to be posted within 15 days, so the risk is that there's a challenge to whether or not it's valid or not. The way you fix that is the board can re-adopt it and then republish it, but that's just a legal requirement in the zoning enabling act, that it needs to be published and posted within 15 days after it's
So
adopted
it
by the
could be
board.
challenged, basically.
It could be, the risk is that it could be challenged as it was, and never officially took effect because it wasn't published in time, but,
Probably need to
I
take
was
that
gonna
back.
say, we'll ask Dave to
but you can, yeah.
readdress that with the
You can
board.
fix that by just readopting the ordinance by vote at a board meeting and then publishing it again within 15 days
I would ask
thereafter.
they do that too.
So, and then the moratorium officially takes effect 7 days after.
So I mean, and I know that's not your fault, Dave, but we need to be more persistent with that whole piece thing. I mean, I think it's a known fact that years past, there's been some concerns there, and we can't have that continue, so.
Yeah, and just let me know too when you guys get that. I calendar all of those dates, so I always calendar like a month out when it's expiring so that we are on
anything else?
I think that was,
Anybody else got any questions for Dave? I'm gonna ask that you wait on the master plan until you hear from me.
Okay.
I'll send you an email just to get approval for that. if
Yeah,
you will,
sure.
so. The other thing I guess I wanna ask Dave is that I need your assistance on getting the meeting minutes posted on the website. There still hasn't been any posted out there for 2022, and it's only up to 2019 it starts.
okay, minutes on the website.
And I know that maybe, I think Todd has that responsibility, right, and his helper?
Yep.
And I know they're working on the election right now, but they'll come to a conclusion soon, and then they can, yeah. So I know they're working on ballots and absentees.
So there's none since 2019, right?
Well, no, 2019 to, nothing after, 2019 to 2021 is all that's out there.
Okay.
I think there's a few missing in that period too.
So, I mean, they need to get it updated and it needs to be available for the public to see. This next talk then about, this zoning amendment application. The one that you have, I think, in your folder. Is that the one that Leslie you put together
Yep.
for us?
Yep.
Any questions on that, or are you all comfortable with making that? You should know, right?
None.
You didn't have any other ones, did you?
Do you guys have a form for special land use permits too?
For what?
Special land use permits? Do you guys have a form for that?
My gosh, I couldn't tell you, I don't know for sure. Yeah, we had one.
You
We
had
had to
one?
have
Okay.
one, yeah.
Just making sure, cause eventually down the line, you know, if you don't have one, you want that too, probably. But yeah, so this is just the form that you could use, you know, at your discretion for anybody who's applying for a rezoning or a zoning text amendment, what information they would need to provide to the township, so that's easier for Dave to process them.
Do we think we need Leslie to look at that special land use permit or application, or is it fairly new?
What's that?
I guess how outdated, is it time to maybe give that a facelift, I
I'd have
guess?
to, I don't, well, look, I think mine, I have a variance application here, but.
I thought last time we said we didn't necessarily,
I know there's a variance application, I didn't go through that process.
for the, special
Oh,
land use.
yeah, I'm not sure. I think it might have been the same form, if I remember right, Dave, there was a checkbox at the top.
Yeah, on this here, it's, we've been using a regular application for a variance, so we should have a separate
For a special.
application for it. Normally, I would, something like this with the variance, I have to deny the regular permit first, which normally would be here. And then they have a variance application that goes to the ZBA, and once the ZBA approves it, I make a correction on that application, initial it, and give them a copy so they can take it to the building department. So we should have updated special use and variance, I would, yeah.
And that there, what you have is on our website.
Well, this here, that's just a regular zoning permit we've been using.
The grid works out there too. So.
Yeah.
So we're having Leslie look at this special land use and variance, is that what I'm hearing?
Probably be faster if I just used a template of what I already have that's similar to this, cause I can literally just take out one township's name and put yours in.
Yep.
And then you guys can make any changes you might need, it'll take me 5 minutes, so.
Okay.
So we're all set, should we have a motion to accept this?
I'll make a motion to accept the zoning amendment application.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion carried. And then we'll get a special use and then we'll, have that for next meeting.
We're doing both special use
on the agenda then would be, our bylaws. And we tabled this last time, I believe, correct? And we did because we didn't have all of our members, and Joe, now that you are, I don't know if you had an opportunity to look at that.
I looked at a lot of stuff, I just
I understand.
didn't know what I looked at.
The only thing I did not give you was copies of other examples of other townships that the board gave us to consider also. Because we got copies, I think, from Leslie, Winfield, Maple Valley, Belvedere, Pine, and then we had, the MTA, and then I think, Brandy had one
I
too.
would say I've got all of them, if you want to see them, they're.
So I don't wanna put you, I don't,
They're almost
That's-
word for word the same.
yeah,
That,
that's,
that copy you're looking at right there is the one with the changes I'm proposing for the updating the bylaws. And I guess Leslie mentioned it last time, at the last meeting, we approved our conflict of interest language, but there were some other, I think, updates that would be helpful to commission members that are new to the commission. Most of the language that I proposed comes right from the planning, enabling or zoning enabling acts. And I mean, like, basic stuff, like, we're on here for 3-year terms, you know, so people know, the length of the term, kind of the makeup of the body, responsibilities of the chair, and then election of officers is something you probably need to get taken care of. Right now, I think we just say we'll have a chairperson and a vice chairperson, and then a recording secretary may be appointed by the commission. I think the law calls for a chairperson and a secretary, right?
Correct, yeah.
We're saying it's optional to have a secretary.
You can have an optional recording secretary who just sort of takes the minutes
right.
for the secretary, so the secretary does nothing, and that can be somebody who's either not on the planning commission or who is.
And some townships have that.
Right, yeah.
And, right now, officers are elected for 1-year, terms, and then this, we probably need to amend. No member of the commission shall hold the same office for more than 2 successive terms, and I'm assuming that's 1-year terms. And there was a note in these bylaws, this may be amended to fit membership, so I think we wanna amend that, because nobody's really, fighting over these jobs. So if somebody wants to do it, I'm, fine with that. Also, just our requirements that we have to have 4 meetings a year, and that a lot of the things with notice, publishing notice, because that's stuff that we're just not familiar with, and you wanna get that stuff right. Putting the notice of the meetings right at the start of the year, so a lot of just that housekeeping stuff. Our order of business, we didn't have anything for public comments. We had public hearings, which is different than public comments, so again, just things that help this commission operate and members understand, what responsibilities are, is essentially what I'm proposing. But specifically, we should say if we're gonna strike out that section 4, about only allowing somebody to serve for, basically 2 years in a row.
Yeah,
In
same
an
successive
office,
terms.
yeah, not your term on the planning commission, your term as like chair, vice chair, secretary, I think is what is intended by that. And I'm not aware of anything in the planning enabling act that would conflict with that, so.
So I guess I would motion, if you will, that we strike that. Is that what we would, just take that out
Article
altogether?
5, section 4, yeah, that
Article
would be,
5,
we
section
need to remove that.
Make a motion that we just strike that.
I mean, are we feeling that section 1's making it so we're re-electing every year anyway at the first meeting? So
Yeah,
it makes that section 4 kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, the only, what it does is say, after the end of the second year that you were elected somebody, they couldn't serve again, you couldn't vote, or, in the third year,
But
but
I kind
we
of
can
feel like with the way
re-elect
these
everyone every
go,
year anyway, yeah.
like Kim served as a secretary for so long, I don't
Right.
think anybody really wanted to take that over. And for her
That's
to
not
be-
a very common.
for somebody to
provision.
be limited because it's written when, if there's no problems with what's going on then.
That's not a very common provision I've seen in planning commission bylaws, so I would have no problem.
I would second that motion.
Discussion? So we all looking at the copy with the blue? Yeah, I guess that's what I'm gonna,
I guess to,
I got 3 copies here somehow. Should be got some blue and then some yellow highlighted. Yeah, I got some yellow here on this.
no,
what is your guys', this is discussion, so what is your guys' thoughts on the rest of it? Because I would be willing to amend my motion to, accept the blue wording and strike section 4. If you guys,
well, I think in section, strike section 4, or
Article
section,
5, section
5, election of officers, section 4.
can we start on page 1?
Sure.
Section 4, or Article 4, section 1, we still have a recording secretary, should we take out the word recording?
Hold on a second, where,
First page.
First recording.
Yeah, officers shall be chairperson, vice chairperson,
And
and secretary.
A recording secretary
May be appointed.
I think the recording needs to come out of there, right?
I would keep it the way it is, because that gives you the option, if, for example, and we had this
The other way.
situation in the township, that if somebody is named a secretary, which is what we have here, if she didn't wanna do minutes, then she could delegate that to somebody who's not a member, and they would need a recording secretary, but
Okay,
they're not
I
the
see.
secretary.
yeah,
So I would keep it the way
Right.
it is, yeah.
Okay.
I think at
You
least,
don't
so
have-
somebody can sit here and go like this and not worry about the meeting other than recording the meeting.
And sometimes that's because like there's a member that's like, I'll be the secretary, but I don't wanna take the minutes, so, you know.
Well, I think we're to the point where accurate minutes are becoming important as well.
Yep.
So, for the secretary to sit here and try to be a part of the quorum and write everything down would get difficult at times.
Okay. Everybody else good with page 1? Page 2? The other thing I have is Article 6, Section 1, 10 days after December. I think I just wanna put, what happens if we decide not to have a meeting in December and just put year-ending meeting, the last meeting of the year.
after the
Final meeting of the year.
final meeting of the
Yeah.
year.
Just take it.
Because we may not have, if we choose,
10 days after the final, yeah, replace December with final.
sorry, Leslie. Next,
Did you wanna talk about section 4, article 5, section 4, that's the one, if you guys want
I think we're all
to on
good
it,
with
right?
striking that.
Yep, Joe, good?
Yeah, I think so.
Page 3. The only thing I'd like to strike off there is Article 7, Section 1, letter C. I don't think we have to put 3 minutes per person unless an extension is granted by the chair.
So just strike,
Public comments?
just strike the parentheses.
Yep.
Okay,
I mean, that kinda comes up to the discretion of the
Yep,
chairperson, right?
it's my understanding, yes.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that,
so,
but leave public comments.
yeah,
Let's-
public comments, public.
Dave, good? Yeah. And if you wanna make them longer, so be it, or we just discussion.
I mean, sometimes 3 minutes is enough, sometimes it's not. I mean,
Sure. Everybody else good with anything else there?
Yep.
We're on page 4. Good?
Yep.
Page 5,
and then, yeah, we had already.
right?
voted on that conflict of interest.
Any other discussion? We have a motion,
I guess I have to amend it, right?
Yeah, you can just, you don't have to do a motion to amend it, you can just, unless he is not gonna second your amended
I'll
motion.
start your new motion.
I Okay. I make a motion to accept, the blue changes to the bylaws, with the exception of getting rid of December and replacing it with the word final. And then also striking Article 5, section 4. And then, Article 7, section 1, item C, striking the parentheses, 3 minutes per person. So, yeah.
And I'll second that.
Second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And then Dave, we'll get that updated, and then if you could share that with the board, just so we updated that, and it's our responsibility, they don't really have a, yeah, true, so. No, yeah. The other thing, and then now we need to, vote for, recommendations for the chair, vice chair, and secretary. Yes?
That's in our bylaws we just proposed.
Right, but
yes.
it was in the one before too. So.
Yeah, we were hoping to for this meeting.
And we didn't do that last meeting because we didn't have our other person in Joe not here, so. Any, recommendations, I guess, or how should we do this?
I nominate Phil to be chairperson.
See no reason for you not to stay where
Usually
you're at.
One more year?
One more year.
Okay.
I guess all in favor of Phil being the chairperson for another year? Aye.
Motion not carried. Mayor, motion carried. Vice chair?
Yeah, I'll sit as vice.
Okay.
Yes.
So a motion to, incline as vice chair.
Second.
Second? Any discussion there? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. And then last is, secretary.
I think she's currently sitting in the position taking notes, so. Brandy's nominated.